to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's Friday night, 7:08 p.m. Central. Good to have you here. You listen to United Public Radio. We got Wham here with us tonight.
Hello.
Wham's representing. Was that Joe or actually you?
That was me. That was actually me.
Okay. And tonight's guest, Kosta Makreas, and ET Let's Talk. And Kosta, say your name for us one good time because I may have said it wrong there again, possibly.
No problem. I'm Kosta Makreas.
Okay, Makreas, gotcha. And
Yeah.
where you were born in Fort Wayne, Indiana. What is your heritage, so to speak?
It's Greek on both sides. Both my
Okay.
parents were immigrants, and I was the firstborn, first generation. So I've had a foot in both cultures.
Cool, Greek. Okay.
Yeah.
Me, I'm Irish, Scottish, Viking, a lot of British, a lot of
Uh-huh.
Europe. I did that whole test, so they're probably cloning me somewhere now, I'm sure.
Well, of course.
Well, it's great to have you here. I guess tell us a little bit about ET Let's Talk. What started you on this journey of creating ET Let's Talk? Because this is something else. I'm trying to wrap my head around this.
Well, good. I'm always happy to talk about it because uh, people are excited when they find out what it is we're doing. Once they get past the ET Let's Talk, we're not totally wearing tinfoil hats and things like that. We're a serious online community of many, many years of people who actually have fun, but we make interactive contact with the star people that are visiting here. And I realize that's kind of a big statement, and I can break that down a bit more for your listeners. I like to
Okay.
say that,
Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
we're a community of about 150,000 people, um, most of whom will never meet, but we do get together virtually once a month, and we have for the last 10 years to do coordinated contact visualizations with each other in our network in order to reach out to the cosmic civilizations that are visiting here. And again, I'll break that down more into more detail. But the thing I want to say at the top is that everybody who comes to my community has a story, and I'll tell you mine about how I got here doing this. Uh, but it's not unusual for me to hear from people, "Wow, I am so glad I found your group because I had an experience with my family when I was a child, and we never talked about it. We never could, or I had an experience and I can't tell my spouse or my wife or my boss or my friends because everyone will think I'm crazy." I hear variations of that over and over, and so this community really is a gathering of all of us who have these stories and have come together to support each other, to talk about them, to compare notes, because there's power in this kind of a community. And what you may ask then, what brought me to this? Well, as you mentioned before, I grew up in Indiana, and in a very conservative part of the country, and in the early '60s, when the internet, of course, wasn't around, and there were just a few books about UFOs out at the time. I believe when I was maybe 10 or 11, I found one of those paperbacks, and I was, immediately smitten. It was written by one of the people from the contactee movement that thrived in the late 40s, 50s, 60s, and some into the 70s. A lot of people came out of that movement, and some of them wrote books, and they had pictures. And so when I saw a paperback with a classic UFO with a dome shape on it and lots of pictures inside, and keep in mind this was before Photoshop and all that, so most people didn't have access to sophisticated means to fake things, although some people did try. But I was immediately smitten and just knew that a lot of that was true. We were and are being visited by many civilizations. Now, I, smitten though I was, kind of dropped the interest and had what I call a conventional life for decades after that, which means I went to university. I got to Indiana University. I got a degree in computer science and a minor in mathematics. I came out to California in the early '80s, got married, had a couple kids, got divorced, got remarried to my current wife. Hollis Polk, and in that way, it was pretty normal. However, in 2006, I got on the internet and just decided to do a search for like UFO to revisit my childhood interest. Because as a child too, I neglected to mention I was into astronomy and science fiction and the space program of the day. Sputnik. I remember that. I remember Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, all that. So my eyes were always on the stars. And as I looked out from my Indiana backyard, I knew that we were not alone, and just felt a really tug like, man, I wish I were an explorer and I could go out there. This is a huge, amazing universe. So that's kind of the mindset that I had. It was a real sense of awe about space. So here I am in 2006, got on the internet, and I discovered it was like drinking from a fire hose, and it's only gotten worse since then. You get so much information, and in a way that's good, but you have to be discerning about what's real, ask questions, what rabbit hole you want to go down, et cetera, et cetera. I suspect many of your listeners are familiar with that. That sometimes you just don't know where to turn. I was fortunate though to find a group of people that would go on retreats, and they did something really unusual, which they talked about using meditation and consciousness alone or in a group setting to send out vibes to space people, to these civilizations of many different kinds, and actually make the contact and interact with them. So that's what changed my life. I went on a 6-day retreat to Mount Shasta here in Northern California, about 4 hours from my home in the San Francisco Bay Area by car. And during that week, every night with a group of 40, 50 people, we were watching flashing lights in the sky, zigzagging around, doing impossible things. We learned how to identify what was normal up there, planes and satellites, planets, stars. Um, and then what was left over, we would shine our lights up there and we would see them respond and come lower and flash and move and zip away and all that. So it was really eye-opening, and that's when I understood that this thing called CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which is the human-initiated contact that we were doing, it was a real thing. And during that same week, and I know I'm going on in some detail, but this really is the fullness of my story, and I want your listeners to understand that
It's okay. Go on.
somebody just doesn't decide, hey, I'm going to wait till I'm in my 50s to start a community online of people who do this kind of thing just because I have nothing better to do with my time. No, it wasn't that at all. It was I had life-changing experiences like many people in my community have had as well that just open up your eyes and cause you to kind of reassess, well, there's stuff here I never gave much credence to, but let me think about it. Or if I gave credence to it, let me think more about it, what I want to do with it. So during that week, as I was getting introduced to this human-initiated contact and learning that all of us were doing it and having results, during that week I had two life-altering events that put me in the direction of creating etletstalk.com. And one of them, and I'll try to be brief, was one night after we had finished that evening's contact, about 10 of us still hung around, kind of talking, and we were in a clearing at the base of Mount Shasta, surrounded by forest, and we were talking about what had happened during the night. And someone tugged on my sleeve and pointed off to my right, and I had to rub my eyes. I looked there and tried to make sure that it wasn't the shadows or part of the moonlight, but honest to God, there was a sphere that was materializing out of thin air in front of our eyes. I would say about 3, maybe 4 feet across, and it was opaque. You couldn't look into it, and it was floating above the ground. And just like a slow motion, special effect that you might see in a movie, it got more definite. And like I said, it was a sphere. There was no sound or any wind or vibration or anything, but it was just very silent. And I'm looking at that going, as a WTF moment. What is this? One of the people in our group, as we stood there looking at it, shouted out to the rest of us and said, hey, I just got a message from the beings that are inside this is either a starcraft or part of a larger craft that isn't yet material. I don't know. But someone from inside of that thing just said to me telepathically that they are scientists who are here to study human energy systems. So I thought, well, this is great. We're somebody's PhD research topic. You know, they're doing field work out here. They came to Earth to study human energy systems, and I accepted that because I'm a scientist by training too, and I understand that many species are out there exploring and wanting to learn, just the way that humans are wanting to advance in knowledge and learn and explore. So I kind of accepted, like, okay, what I'm looking at, okay, maybe these are scientists, like they say, and they're here. So what's going to happen now? Well, as it turns out, the woman next to me, who I just gotten to know, became a friend, was a very gifted psychic person. And what I didn't know at the time is she stood next to me while we're watching this thing, which, by the way, floated there for about a half an hour. And she was standing still like a board, very straight, with her arms out, bent at the elbow, parallel to each other, with the palms facing each other. For the whole half hour, she wasn't talking or moving. She was just standing like that. And I thought to myself, something's going on. I don't want to interrupt it, whatever it is, but I'm going to hang out here next to her just in case she shows any signs of distress. So for that whole hour, she was there, like I said, not moving, and the rest of us are rubbing our eyes and whispering low to each other and wondering, what's going to happen next. Well, she finally kind of got a little bit woozy, and I steadied her by the shoulders and um, asked her if she was okay, and she said she's fine. And then I asked her, well, what happened? And what she said was that one of the beings from inside this craft in front of us approached her telepathically in her mind and asked her if, and I don't know if this was a he or a she, I'll just say it, and asked her if it could merge with her in order to study her energy system. So she was kind of telling me a story in that moment that was uh, validated by what the guy's messages had been before, that they're scientists. So here she was saying, well, they asked me to be part of an experiment, merge with me. Now, that's pretty cool. A lot of people I know would probably run the other way with their hair on fire, and go back to their car and back home. But she really had it together because not only did she say, yes, you can do that, but I have three conditions. So she was negotiating with them. You know, that's really having it together, right? And the first condition was that she remain um, conscious of her surroundings as this was happening when they merged with her. She didn't want to be knocked out. And the being said to her, yes, that's fine, I agree. Her second condition was that the being should leave when she tells it to leave. So she had that control, and the being agreed to that. And finally, the third condition was she said, no messing around with my sex equipment, no probes, none of that stuff. And the being said, okay. And she was serious, it's like, don't violate me in that way. So when the being said okay to that, that's what I was watching happening in a silent way. Is it was merged with her during that half hour. I didn't know what was going on, of course, until afterwards when she told me the story. And then at the point where she became a little woozy was the point where she said to the being, "Okay, I'm done. Leave now." And we then watched as she finished her story. We watched this small craft fade into the background really slowly, just become less and less oh, solid, transparent, and then it was gone. So in that moment, my friends, I all my the laws of physics as I knew them kind of were violated, and I realized I don't know everything there is to know. Um, I'm here with 9 other adults who experienced this. We're not crazy. We're not high on anything, and yet this happened. So we have to reassess, like, okay, what's possible? What's what is it that we don't know about our physics that just resulted in me seeing this with my own eyes? And like I said, that changed my life because I realized that if I could do this and be part of something like this, I'm nobody special. I'm just a guy who showed up for a week. Anybody can do it, and I wanted to learn to teach other people how to do what I had just done So they could be delighted and they could have their own kind of contact. And in a large way, that's where we are now with ET Let's Talk. 14 years later, I have a whole community around the world, 150,000 people that are making contact like this and having a huge variety of experiences in different ways that we share with each other as we're trying to understand pieces of this puzzle and put them all together so that we can kind of see a bigger picture. Because myself, none of us has the whole answer of who all these civilizations are. I have some opinions and some information, but we don't see the big picture, and that's why we share our stories in our community. So every month for the last 10 plus years, on a Saturday near the new moon, I have gotten online and organized and coordinated all of our people across the planet to join in with each other mentally, visualize during a 24-hour period whenever it's safe and comfortable for them, but to visualize themselves as a network, as a group field that is reaching out to these cosmic visitors in welcome with, at our core, goodwill and love and positive thoughts. We're not bringing fear or deep skepticism to any of this. And I have to say that the success we've had of thousands of reports over the years shows that the methods we've been using, have been successful, and the community continues to grow. So that's the that's the long story short of
Well,
what ET
definitely.
Let's Talk is.
And that's etletstalk.com, etletstalk.com for our listeners. And just it's good to see this community, growing and prospering, because that's pretty much, how I got into this show. Is just to make a long story short. When I was at 17, I had testicular cancer and had to go through chemo, and I'm fine now. But during that time, it was a lot of suffering, and I believe it opened up my senses a lot. And then a year or so later, my dad passed away, and I started to have really weird experiences. And I didn't really have any interest in the subject at all until I saw the weird stuff. Like I might have seen E.T. or Star Wars or something like that. Other than that, I didn't, think anything about real aliens or whatever would visit me ever. That was the last thing on my mind
Yeah.
ever. And basically, I started to have experiences of UFOs over every house I lived at, and friends saying, Jeffrey, it seems like you're attracting them here. One of the big experiences I've had is I've seen beings of light many times, completely sober with my naked eyes. And I've seen them come out of my home as if they were in it and then fly through the roof and go through the heavens, and saw two as if they had been in my house, but it was like they had passed through the roof somehow and just
Hmm.
flew straight into the heavens. And I've seen them many times, and definitely they seem humanoid and just made out of light, kind of like what, I guess shamans say, luminous ones and stuff like that. But I've
Yeah.
always asked different people about those beings because I've heard different things, from deceased loved ones to aliens to angels. I'm sure you've heard
Right.
everything too. But I
Yes.
guess I'm kind of curious, is that an experience that you hear a lot of, people seeing these beings of light, maybe with their physical eyes or in other ways? And I'm just kind of trying to get some data from it from you, so I can learn about it.
Yeah. Uh, I like to say that what you just said sounds really normal to me. That's how far I've come, because I've heard variations of that kind of story from lots of other people, um, different situations, different countries. The culture doesn't matter, the language. This is happening and has been happening all over the world. So in our world, Jeffrey, you're very normal. You're one of those people that would typical people that come to me and say what you just said, and I go, "Oh yeah, yeah, I believe you." And you're one of hundreds who probably had something like this happen. So I want to assure people that in our world now at ET Let's Talk, this is normal, and we take this seriously. And by talking to each other about it and comparing notes and learning and asking questions, sometimes we learn something from other people. If nothing else, we feel like we're not weird. The rest of the world might want to call us crazy, but when we've met enough people who have their feet on the ground and they're solid and seem like they're put together well, also having these stories, it validates us. and gets us out of that being thought of as a freak, and allows us to take the next step of, okay, let me explore this a little bit more, because obviously something's going on. There's more to the world than what our five senses perceive. This is a learning opportunity. And that's what we do in our community. I encourage people to continue exploring and going further with their basic experience. I want to tell you a quick story about someone else who had an experience kind of like yours, and the
Okay.
elements are the same. And that's my wife now. I'm Hollis. Before I left for my very first week of making this contact that I was just telling you about back in 2006, going to Mount Shasta, I was real excited, had some fear, but some excitement that I might make some close contact. And I asked my wife to come along with me, and she said, "You know, I grew up as someone interested in NASA, and I'm an engineer by trade. Um, but I but I she doesn't have the kind of imagination that ever wondered about the cosmos. Kind of like what you were saying, Jeffrey, that when you were 17 you weren't interested in this. Well, that's the way she was. But she said, "Look, it's a huge universe. I know that we're not the only ones here, but I don't see what these UFOs, UAPs, whatever, I don't see what they have to do with my everyday life. I've got a couple businesses to run, and that's what's in front of me. But I support you going to this thing and have fun. I totally support you and look forward to hearing about it." So she stayed home, and I went to this gathering. Every morning I would call her and talk to her about what we saw the night before, because I was real excited. It was all very new, and she would listen and know that I was telling the truth. Along about I think the fourth morning, just as I called her and I was beginning to tell her, "Well, you'll never believe what happened last night," and she stopped me and said, "Wait a minute, I've got a story for you." And I thought to myself, what could be cooler than what I was doing last night? Oh boy, ego, right? But I listened, and am I glad I did? Because what she said was that she, here in our home, had just turned out the light, was getting comfortable in bed, fluffing the pillows and all that. And now you have to understand, she's a professional clairvoyant and has been for many, many years, very talented, but she only has inner sight when she closes her eyes. She's not the kind that will see auras externally every now and then, but that's not her regular mode, her regular go-to. So what I'm about to describe, she saw with her physical eyes, and she has good night vision, like a bat in the night, which she didn't need in this case. But I do want to emphasize this was her normal eyes. This was not like a psychic thing. So she's there in bed, and suddenly in front of her, at the foot of the bed, there are these three, maybe four beings standing there. They just popped in. Um, One of them was behind the other three, and their lower parts were obscured by the edge of the bed. What she could see is that they were all about 3.5, 4 feet tall, large heads, big eyes, and the rest of it, like their nose kind of was there, and the other features were not as defined. They had thin necks and thin arms, and as far as she could tell, they were bipedal, but she couldn't really see their feet. But the rest of them looked, you know, uh, humanoid, not human, but humanoid. So they're standing there looking at her, and she's shocked and couldn't say anything. Now, she says she wasn't afraid because what she was feeling in that moment were waves of love coming off of them that were washing through her. Just this love. And that's why there was no fear, even though she couldn't say anything. She was shocked. But there was this love. And then in a very sweet voice inside her head, telepathically, she heard one of them say to her in the way that I'm going to imitate, "Who are you? Who are you?" We theorized that they had found me up in Mount Shasta doing my thing with people up there for many days, and possibly had seen some kind of energetic connection to her, because we're very close. We're a happy couple, and they might have wondered, and had some spare time on their hands might have wondered, where is this guy spending all this time? What is this great attachment he has energetically to someone? We think they followed that back. We can't prove that, but we think they did, to our bedroom, and there they were in front of her. Who are you? And finally, when she kind of gathered her wits, she said to them, where are you from? Like, mentally, where are you from? To this day, she regrets that and wishes she had asked them instead, how did you get here? Which would be an interesting question for an engineer to ask, which she is. But anyway, she said, where are you from? And again, telepathically, in the same kind of sing-song way, they replied slowly in her brain, Arcturus, Arcturus. And my wife says to me, because she was not the astronomy geek that I had been as a young man, she goes, Arcturus, is that a place? And I said, oh, yeah. Yeah, it's Astronomy 101. It's what they call today, I think, a hyper red giant in the constellation Butes, which my Latin is not very good. But yeah, it's a real place. It's a star system. So they just told you that's where they're from. And my wife said, okay, wow. They faded out right after that. After they said Arcturus to her, they just kind of faded out. And so she says to me, now this is personal. I'm coming with you next year. So that changed her life, and she's still involved with what I'm doing with ET Let's Talk now, 14 years later. And that's what I mean by a life-changing story in the way that yours was, too.
Definitely. Thanks for sharing. What do you? So you do this? You do it online, and then do you do like exercises and go out and try to communicate with them? Is that like you just kind of guide people to do that?
I publish 7 steps that are at the core of it, and um, people who come onto the website to etletstalk.com, the membership's free, um, can learn those steps and use them. Now, what happens is that everybody inevitably starts customizing these 7 steps. They add, maybe they like drumming, maybe they like some chanting, maybe they like the light candles, whatever gets them kind of in a relaxed, higher vibrational state, in a calm state, with a clear mind. I'm good with that. Uh, so people will customize these steps, but that's what they do by coming to the website and learning that. Now, sometimes we do synchronized meditations online with all these people, but a part of the process of making this contact is to also visualize the network of everyone else around the planet. It's really a network, and you kind of stand out there in space in your mind's eye, in your imagination, and you visualize lights everywhere that are the groups and the individuals that are joining with you during that 24-hour period. You just kind of link up with them, you send them love, and then together as a group, you kind of send out these beams of welcome out into space, basically saying, hi, we're here, we're humans, we're peaceful, we're not going to shoot at you, we want to get to know you better, we're operating with love and openness, would you please communicate with us? And the communications do come in lots of different ways, not just as lights in the sky. So that's where a lot of stories occur. People have a lot of ways that they get that answer back over the years. And our friends are very creative, our star friends. So that's what I emphasize to people. It's not rocket science. And you know what? Anybody can do it. You can do it in your living room if you can't go outside, or you can go to some place in nature that's beautiful, sit in a circle alone or with friends. So we do a mix of what you just said. We can do it online sometimes, but a lot people physically go out into nature, uh, again, by a beach, in a forest, at a mountaintop, in their backyard. I've done it in my driveway on a quiet night, or in my living room. And it doesn't matter. It's what you put out there, your openness and the love, and they detect that, and they answer in kind. So it really is that simple, and it costs you nothing to try it. A little bit of your time and a little bit of effort. It may not happen the first time, but if you're aware that the communication can come in a lot of different ways, you will eventually get it, I believe. Sometimes you'll get a touch on the shoulder, you'll get a telepathic message. You might feel a wave of love coming through you that, I mean, there's nothing there, but it just really uh, fills you up, and it's a feeling that's really powerful. Might get a touch on the knee. I've had smartphones that were turned off right next to me suddenly turn themselves on and start playing like some cosmic song that's on my playlists. Something maybe by the Moody Blues or something. One of the groups of the '70s that did a lot of spacey kind of music, or something like that, and just start playing. So people will get results in a lot of different ways if they're open to it and aware that they can come in different ways.
You're in a loud background. Are you okay, Wham? Would you like to add
Uh,
anything? I'm also hearing some background
Oh,
noise.
it's just because I leaned on my desk in a certain way, and it made crackly noises.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
we
I
thought
was
you were
just
getting beamed up.
I heard it's like
Maybe.
drums. It's like drums. But yeah, we got an hour, so we got about 20 minutes. So you got anything you'd like to add, Wham?
I mean, these are just a couple questions. The first is the process that you're describing is not that different from a lot of other kind of spiritual processes that I'm familiar with and that people have done, as long as human beings have been around, to contact ancestors or to contact the dead, frankly, or to contact other types of spiritual beings. Is there some difference in the experience so that you know that you're actually contacting extraterrestrials specifically?
That's an excellent question because you're right, and I agree that this process is so similar because it's all about vibration, and
Uh-huh.
human beings have been getting together in groups and creating a certain feeling and a vibration to contact something, right? Paranormal. Um, we live in, I believe, such an inhabited universe, other dimensions, those who've passed on. I mean, I'm aware of all that and a believer in all that, and that's why your question's really good. Sometimes I wonder we don't really know, to be honest, if the tap you got on your shoulder might have been your grandmother who was coming by from, the next world and saw you and found an opportunity to kind of reach in. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. There have been studies done that involved thousands of people asking them about all these kinds of paranormal experiences. And in some cases, people couldn't tell what the source was, but they know that something did happen. I will say that one way you can tell is if you're outside and you're in a group and you've done your thing there, and then you see the flashing lights in the skies moving around. Well, those likely are ET and spacecraft. They could be other consciousnesses. I think I got that right. Looking in from other dimensions. I mean, you can't know 100%, but I would say what I see in the sky, I'm more likely to believe is extraterrestrial. And all that extraterrestrial means it's just not from Earth. It's not a real mysterious uh, word. It just means that they've come from somewhere else. They've gotten here somehow through those vast distances, maybe interdimensionally, whatever. But here's what the cool thing is. You know what? Whether it's ET or a departed relative, an ancestor, whatever, what I would emphasize is contact them, establish a relationship. You've just proven that communication is possible. The infrastructure is there. You can, so why just drop it? What I ask people is if been a positive experience, well, then pursue it. Keep trying, start asking questions, see if you get answers, develop a dialogue. I know people that talk to star visitors because they've practiced this enough that, for example, they can easily have a conversation in their beings the way that you and I are, talking right now. It's that easy. Other people might struggle more. But what I'm just saying, it's all worth it to try. Um, our five senses are not all we have, right? And the universe is so far more stranger and incredible than we think. So why not explore it? Whether it's ET or ancestors or whatever, there's something there to learn, about who we are and why we're here and what's possible. And what I want to add to all of this is for me, what underlies all of it is the fact that I believe the universe is love. Despite what we see happening in our human world now, the underpinning really is love, and we just are trying to approach and get evolved to that place where we behave a lot better as human beings towards each other and towards other life forms here, as well as in the stars. So what I'd like to tell people, we're not just doing this because it's a circus, a three-ring circus. I mean, cool things happen, and I'm the first person to say, I love the lights in the sky. I've seen stuff I never imagined zipping about up there and communicating with us intelligently. And that's exciting because it's not just a light. There's a being there. There's an intelligence, and you wonder who they are. Do they have a name? Where are they from? Why are they here? Kind of cool. In the communications I've gotten from and I call them my star friends, and they like to be called star people instead of aliens. They've told me that because I've had communication. But the major thing they have said to me is that to not think of them as gods, bad. Don't think of them as gods. They prefer for us to think of them as elder brothers, sisters, and cousins. They basically said we're family. They're our star family. And that gets into a lot of other things about ancient aliens and coming here to hybridize with humans and all that. And I'm not an expert in all that. But in present time, what they've told me is we're family. So I kind of accept that. And I've had other encounters that proves that they treat me in that same way too, as someone who comes to them in love. I mean, think of it this way. Imagine if you suddenly discovered across the ocean that you had a long-lost cousin that you never knew about in your family tree, and somehow you got in communication with them once and found out that they were really cool, what they said, what technologies they had. And so why wouldn't you want to get to know them better? And especially when they offer their help, because our star friends have offered their help to us here to solve problems that are too big for us. So why wouldn't we accept mentors or partners in trying to make a better world here on Earth who have maybe gone through some of the stages that we're going through and not destroyed themselves, but instead journeyed to the stars? And if they're here now and willing to help, and they say they're family, why wouldn't you try to establish that relationship and ask them for a little bit of help? You know, it's our humans. It's up to us humans to solve our human problems, the mess that we made. We can't expect others to do that. But if someone's reaching out to you with a helping hand saying, look, if you got a question, I've been through this, I might be able to give you some answer or some way to think about it that will help you out in doing what you're doing, trying to solve, you know, war or hunger or whatever, all the problems that we need to solve on Earth. They're willing to help is what they've said and to co-create with us. So I have a real positive vision about all that. And that's why I urge people in my community to develop a relationship if they can.
So what would you, if someone is interested in joining this group that you have in these efforts, is there any kind of, I mean, you mentioned the exercises on the website. Is there anything else that a person would need to do to kind of prepare themselves, or if a person kind of maybe wonders whether or not they might have had some experiences and would like to explore them a little further, like what kinds of experiences kind of are signs that a person might be oriented in this way, or might have certain gifts in this way even.
Mm-hmm. Well, usually people know that when they contact me, because they open with, "Hey, I had this experience, or I've been having these experiences, and they've just been going on, and I want to learn more. So they approach me, and the answer is to have an open mind, an open heart, have goodwill. Um, it's not uncommon to have a little fear sometimes. That's okay because often that just shows we're human. But once you start having some contact, many times the fear just melts away, and the contact then even becomes easier. There are a friend of mine has produced a manual that has a lot of information that I take new people and I point them to the links. I give them links of where they can get more information. And again, by joining as a free member at etletstalk.com, I welcome them into the community, send them links. The website is full of information, and they start getting announcements. That's what you'll be getting. I just don't drop you. You start getting emails about, hey, this month on Saturday, our teams are joining together to visualize. Here's some instructions. Just join us. Or I also hold retreats, physical retreats of my own 3 times a year in the U.S., in Mount Shasta, Northern California, in Bloomington, Indiana, in the Midwest, and also in Joshua Tree, Southern California. Now, that changed in 2020. I decided not to do that last year, but at some point, I will be bringing people again physically in the same way that when I started in 2006. It's great. It's wonderful to meet people from other parts of the country who show up for 6 nights of sitting outside and making this kind of contact. So that's another thing that people can do is join one of these retreats. And as they get to know other people in the community, because I also have a Facebook group and I give people a link for that, and you can start announcing yourself and people will respond to you. You can make a post in this group that says, hi, I'm so-and-so from this location, and I want to tell my story. Has anyone else experienced this? Or I've made this contact. Can I improve on it? Any suggestions? It's a community, and it's a safe space for people to share and teach and learn. Uh, did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Quite thoroughly. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad to help. That's community is what this is about. And you know what? This community is bigger than any of us think. What I want your listeners to know is that there was research done by a Dutch firm back in 2015 and 2016. So it's about 4 years old. But they did the most extensive research of attitudes towards extraterrestrial life that anyone had ever done. And they did it very scientifically. This was a real um, serious kind of study, not just a poll on the internet that wasn't scientific and that you really couldn't count on the results being accurate. They were really rigorous about this because they wanted to be taken seriously. So the upshot of all that is they asked a lot of questions of their 24,000 people from all these different countries, different cultural beliefs, different economic systems, whatever, so that all these people represented humanity. They asked them a lot of questions, and then they tabulated and gave statistics on what people answered. The bottom line is what I learned from their research about what is the attitude back then, and now 4 or 5 years later, it's only better than this. The number of people of adults on Earth who not only believe in intelligent life out there, and I don't mean a microbe under some rock, but intelligent life, but also that we should communicate with it. That number, I calculated from their research, is about 1.3 billion with a B people on the planet, and that's a staggering number. It doesn't mean all of them are grabbing lawn chairs and being members at etletstalk.com and making contact. But what I'm saying is this research just uncovered the openness, the open minds on a far larger scale than any of us imagine of people who are okay with this. Now there's that's 1 out of 7 people on Earth at this time who are open to this. 6 out of 7 are not, and that's fine. There's all kinds of attitudes why they're not. But the important thing is the 1.3 billion who are the people that I and other people, allies I have in my network, are trying to reach because they're the low-hanging fruit. They're already believing. They're all kind of want to be part of the choir. You don't have to approach them and say, hey, I finally got the video that's going to prove to you that UFOs are real. Do you believe now? Do you? Do you? Do you? We're not there. We're talking about people who are already open. Maybe you've had some contact, and they just don't know that there's a community like ours and I'm not the only one. I think I'm the largest one, but there are others who are making this contact and advancing this cosmic contact. This is the biggest story in human history, the biggest, and it's what I call the People's Disclosure Movement. You may be familiar with people calling for disclosure in the UFO movement. Disclose, disclose. They've been asking governments for 70 years to tell us what we already know, that they're here, but governments have been covering it up, telling everyone we're crazy, breaking up marriages, threatening people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The People's Disclosure Movement, which I started in 2010, is about 650,000 people now in more than 100 countries who are making their own contact and who have taken their power back from the authorities and doing the disclosure themselves. So up until 2010, and it's still going on now in the UFO community, a lot of people are waiting for some prime minister or some president or some premier to hold a press conference and tell the world or their country people, hey, yeah, we've been lying to you for 70 years. They really have been here, and we've known about it all along. And sorry about that we lied to you, but it's all true. A lot of people are still waiting for that announcement and little dribs and drabs that might come out around that topic. And my point has been, why are we wasting that time and energy waiting for them? Because that allows them to control the narrative and to have all the power. These simple methods I've been talking about, where we make our own contact, we go from being believers into knowers. Once you've had this kind of contact, and I think Jeffrey can attest to this, ain't nobody going to talk you out of it, right? They can call you whatever they want, but you know what you know. And so the People's Disclosure Movement is hundreds of thousands of people. We know what we know. We know that the government authorities, the church, and others have owned the past because they've covered it up from us. So yeah, they've owned the past. But actually, from 2010 on, we, the people, own the future. Because when we make our own contact and teach a friend or a colleague, and they teach someone else, and we grow our movement to big numbers, then we've taken the power away from them, and then we become the ones who've disclosed. So we know what we know. The skies are filled with different civilizations. Some of them are on the ground, and we're not crazy. There's thousands of us, and finally we have found each other and are gut checking each other, saying, do you believe this? Do you believe what happened to me? Yeah, I believe that because this happened to me too. So we're a wonderful force now that really is leading humanity into the future, rather than feeling like someone else has to tell us what we already know. That's yesterday's news.
Well, it's definitely good to have you on the show, and we appreciate the information so much. And I'm going to check it out further. And what links would you like to give out before you depart?
The major one is etletstalk.com. That's ETLETSTALK.com. And if you come there, like I said, I'll just send you more links, welcome you into the community, and answer questions if you have them and all that. It's how we've grown. We had 0 people in 2012 when ET Let's Talk started, and now there's so many thousands, and it's only growing. In fact, I'll leave you with this. My star friends have told me that the movement, this People's Disclosure Movement, they gave me an image, which is, think of it as a snowball, like rolling downhill, and you know how they become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and more massive. They said our movement, making contact, is a snowball going downhill that cannot be stopped now. There is no power on earth that can stop it. And what that means is, if you want to be part of the next exciting thing that's happening right before our eyes, which is contacting these civilizations, because keep in mind, they've got technologies that can cure cancer. free energy technologies, um, uh, wonderful things that they can share with us once we can have a fuller open contact. And that's really what's cool. It's going to improve life on Earth in so many different ways. We can kind of create a golden age slowly. So people who want to be part of this movement, this snowball, just come to etletstalk.com, and like I say, it's free membership, and we'll get you started.
Well, we appreciate it so much. Thanks so much. Keep me in the loop, and I'm definitely going to check it out further. And I appreciate it. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you. I appreciate both of you allowing me the time to talk about this. It's a big deal, and I'm very thankful. Gratitude to you.
All right. You have a good weekend, and take care.
And same to you. Thank you.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye-bye. Let's see here. Let me figure out how to. What do we got to do? You have 55 minutes.
I don't know. What do you want to do?
I don't know. He left. This world domination. I had a couple of things we'll talk about. Let's see. First off, did I tell the story about the dude that wouldn't do the show because of the Mabus name last week, or did I? I can't remember.
Well, we know about Whitley, but is there another dude?
There's another dude, and right now I'd have to find his. I'm forgetting his name, but I have it for sure. It was a guy that was going to do the show, and basically his girlfriend told him not to because of the Mabus name, because I guess she's religious or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, it's weird because the guy claims he was like in some kind of special, like, I don't know what I think about this kind of stuff. Stargate team stuff.
Okay.
You know how some of that goes with Alfred Weber and all that stuff. But I'm trying to, I'll say his name. I don't care. I'm trying to find it though. I'll read his bio. I don't really care. I enjoy this. Do it about Streeper, right? I just think it's funny. So many guests come on, and they could give a flying flip about the name. They don't even. It doesn't even cross their mind. I don't think, or maybe it does, and they just don't say anything. I don't know. But some of them occasionally, not all. It's rare, will protest about the name. And the name, of course, is Mabus, which is from Nostradamus. And he really never says it means what everyone thinks it means. I mean, maybe I don't know what the proof is that it means that, because I really don't see that much of it except from like John Hogue and the History Channel and stuff, which maybe it is what he meant. I don't know, but he never says that's what it meant ever that I know of. It's just a weird name. But I deal with that, not that often, but sometimes. We've had Peter Levendal. He didn't care about the name. He said something weird about it was a thought form or something that I created that drains me or something, which I don't know what he meant by that. But now I can't find it. But I think his name was Russell something. I'll tell you. I'll show you at some point if you really want to know. Right now, I'm just trying to find it.
It's the alleged predecessor to the third Antichrist, or the Antichrist itself, according to Nostradamus, in popular culture.
Yes, in
popular
words, culture.
And I was just looking it up, and it does look like it's a kind of a John Hogue thing.
Exactly. It came from white dudes in a documentary that said it. John Hogue's ignored me when I've asked him to come on the show to discuss it. I would have him on and talk about it and everything. He ignores me. Yet I saw something about him saying Trump was going to win a second term recently somewhere with George Norrie. And of course, that's not true. So John Hogue, whatever, dude. I'll cage match you, dude. We'll do it. His name's Russell.
Okay, this is the quatrain. This is just for what people that are interested. This is the quatrain. It's quatrain 62. Nostradamus says, Mabus then will soon die. There will come of people and beasts a horrible rout. Then suddenly one will see vengeance. 100 hand thirst hunger when the comet will run.
Exactly. Nobody knows what the hell that means. Only Nostradamus. You got a time machine? We'll go Ask
Well, it
Nostradamus
looks
like
to me
Bill and
like
Chad.
it looks like it's been all kinds of stuff. It's like um, there have been all kinds of interpretations. Apparently, some have interpreted the writings of Nostradamus as predicting a series of three antichrists. However, skeptics dismiss the name Mabus as a synonym to an incarnate antichrist. Recent attempts have tried to link it to Obama and Saddam, or Obama and Bush,
Yeah.
and the tendency to try to adapt the quatrains to recent events can be traced back to the time of Nostradamus himself. Could Mabus be a shortening for Mancubus? And the term Mancubus was introduced in 1994 when the software game Doom 2 was released by ID Software. The term is a blend between the words man and incubus. In the context of the game, a mancubus is a fat, slow demon that waddles around while shooting fireballs. It also has one eye, like the Eye of Horus.
You know what? Like the guy that's come on before that says it's Trump. It sounds like Trump. That would suck though, because it was like I named this thing after Trumpelgooch. Oh my gosh, that's depressing. But no one knows what it means. But we've had a guy on that claims it's Trump, and he's going to croak and fulfill the prophecy. If he does, I'll be like, dude, you're right, maybe.
Well, I mean, he is going to croak at some point.
Yeah, well, we need it a little sooner. But the thing is, I don't know. I've had Whitley Strieber say, I would never do that show. Anybody that associates himself with that name must be crazy. And of course, this dude is like, plug an alien Mexican Jaime Maussan mummy next, saying it's real and all this stuff. So whatever, dude. He went nuts on his page, like promoting that crazy mummy, and it was fake as hell. So none of these people are saints by any means, and I certainly don't claim to be, Saint Jeffrey, that's for sure. But when it comes to foul deeds, but just some things. I don't know. There's been a couple of others that may have mentioned it. I just can't remember right now. But the guy supposedly, his name's Russell something. For some reason my phone will not pull it up for anything. It like won't load the inbox mail. But he's in this Stargate stuff and all that. He was in a special whatever, blah blah blah. And basically, I said to him, "Well, you're probably a Trump supporter, so you're probably both hypocrites." And he goes, "Okay, bye, take care," and left really fast. It's like you're gonna give me crap about a name I picked out when I was stoned, and you're worshiping the Trumpelgooch? Whatever, man. Come on, get over it, dude. But anyway, we better be quiet. I don't want to hurt Jay's feelings about the Trumpelgooch. Jay loves Trumpelgooch.
Well, the Trumpelgooch is not president anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
Now maybe we can get some of these stimuli coming in. Some real ones, some real stimuli. But some other things, the show Resident Alien, you would love that. It's dark comedy, it's funny, it's on Sci-Fi, but it's hilarious. It's based on a comic. The guy is that Alan Tudyk. I think he was in Firefly, right? That blonde-haired guy, and he's also in Doom Patrol, but really good actor. But he plays an alien who becomes a doctor, and he's trying to be a doctor while he's an alien, but he also secretly there to kill humanity. But it's got dark comedy. It's funny. It's really good. It's surprisingly amazing. Hopefully it stays on air. But I have the comics. I haven't read them yet, but I got the first volume. I'll read it one year. But it was definitely surprising, because I wasn't going to watch Sci-Fi anymore because they cancel everything. Hopefully they don't cancel this. They canceled Happy. Happy was a really good show with, was it Christopher Maroney or something? He's in those crime shows or whatever. But he was like this drunk detective that was just, his wife family died or something. And then suddenly Patton Oswalt appeared, who was this little cartoon donkey. and it was called Happy, and it was just the craziest thing you'd ever see, and everyone loved it, but they canceled it. So you can't trust sci-fi; they'll cancel the crap out of something in a minute. But hopefully they don't cancel this one. But Happy was really good. It was like this detective, and he's just a mess, and this donkey follows him everywhere, like this little blue weird donkey. They canceled it, but it was actually amazing. Same thing with Hannibal. That's what they do. But the other thing, oh, the Marilyn Manson stuff. I grew up listening to him, and I
Yeah.
still liked his music on some level. But all this definitely it makes you want to throw up if you try to listen to it. I haven't listened to any of it since I heard it. But the thing is, I figured Evan Rachel Wood was talking about him. Everyone figured it, but it was like I was like, well, at least name him so we know 110%. Well, she did. and and now he's like Bill Cosby. It's
Yeah.
bad. It's
Yeah.
real bad. They've stripped him of everything, shows, labels, the whole 9 yards, and they sent cops out to his house for like a suicide check. Like, it's bad. He's definitely like a Bill Cosby now. It's very, very, very depressing. But I don't really care. I like the music. I grew up with it. I rebelled to it and went to the concert, but I wasn't into him as much as I used to be back then. But it's disappointing. It's kind of just sad. Now they're saying he has a rape room and all this stuff. It's crazy, crazy
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah. I mean,
mess.
I guess,
Doesn't surprise anyone though. I don't think really.
yeah, I don't think, yeah, I mean, it's like, there's so many dudes that sort of, kind of play that dark game on a certain level, like, Trent Reznor, who has disowned him, I mean, you know, he's played with some of those ideas in some of the music,
Yeah.
but I don't think he's ever been accused of anything, and I think of Rob Zombie and some of his videos, but again, I don't, and certainly his horror movies, but I don't know that anybody has accused him of anything. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, they're using some of these ideas as tropes, to push envelopes and things like that. But yeah, I guess I wasn't terribly surprised because unfortunately I'm not surprised by those kinds of things anymore.
Yeah, there was this weird in Manson's autobiography, Long Road Out of Hell, which I actually read a long time ago. So I don't remember this part, but I know I saw an article about it. Supposedly Manson said him and Reznor sexually abused someone who was drunk or something, but Trent Reznor said it wasn't true, and then hasn't spoke to him in like 25 years. So I don't know if Manson just threw it in there to be a dick or made it up or what. I don't know, but there's weird stuff. There's certainly I've never heard anything else about Reznor or anything, or I've never heard anything about Rob Zombie like that. But the Manson stuff just keeps on coming out and piling up. It's like Harvey Weinstein now.
Yeah, it's
Bad, but
it's pretty bad.
But that's, I mean, I definitely think he probably did it for sure. I don't have any doubts about that now that she named him. But it is kind of strange the way, I don't know. I saw someone say this in my chat, and all these people were beating him up about how they just say it and then you lose everything. I mean, is that legal on a lot of levels? I mean, it doesn't have to go to court before they start just throwing you off stuff.
Not, it depends on the contracts, but
Yeah.
If they have clauses in their contracts which say things like, I mean, a lot of contracts are they're at the pleasure of the contractor.
Yeah.
In which case they can just cancel something without cause. But especially in the last decade, a lot of if a relationship with a recording company or something like that, they have this whole part of their contract that has to do with marketing and their ability to sell your image and how they're going to use that and all that kind of stuff. And part of that often has language in it that um, if the individual does anything that can cast aspersions or cause negative publicity, that the terms of the contract can be rescinded. And it's precisely for reasons like this. It's because, you know, I mean, I mean, after January 6th, I mean, a lot of people have heard about it, and it's been true. After January 6th and the connection of Trump, to everything that happened, I don't think he'll ever be able to do business in New York ever again. All the banks that have bailed him out, a lot of the real estate that he has here. I mean, the city has canceled their contracts with, I think, virtually all of his commercial properties in the New York City area, which basically means that he can't make money on any of them.
Good.
So he's probably going to have to sell them at some point, because they're going to continue to. I don't even know that he's paid them off, completely, and he's certainly going to have to pay taxes on them and stuff like that. And if they're not making any revenue, then they're just kind of sitting there. So, there are conditions under which companies can cancel contracts like that. I mean, they can try to sue. He's probably going to try to, if he can afford to, he's probably going to, attempt to sue some of those contracts. But, like a bank, if a bank can cut you off whenever they want to.
Yeah, they just cut you off because it's in the contract. But
Yeah,
you would think they would research for defamation of character with some of them. But now that she said it, that's big enough. She's pretty well known and respected. So that was enough, I guess, the clause in the contract to do it. But they done Kevin Spacey'd his ass. He did a Creep Show episode. They're not airing it. I would have liked to seen that. I love that Creep Show. It's a Shudder show based on those old movies with a little creepy guy. But they got rid of that. They got rid of, I don't know, a lot of stuff. But
he was actually doing something. Let me see. Let me look him up. He was actually doing a project here.
He's doing the Stand. The Stephen King's
right.
The Stand. Yeah, they cut him out of that. That's what they did to Kevin Spacey. Well, they cut him out of. There was some Ridley Scott movie. They cut him out of it completely. It was already filmed, and then put Christopher Plummer in it for like they had a lot of it filmed and just cut him out. But I guess they deserve it. Who am I to judge? They deserve it, I guess. I don't know, but the Kevin Spacey thing's so weird. I still don't know what the hell's going on with that. It seemed like all the people that were trying to get him there died, but the one guy from Star Trek or something, or got something that all fell through or whatever.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I know that he, he just made his situation worse. He just,
those videos.
Right up,
The last one he did was about people committing suicide or something weird. But I mean, he was trying to help people, but it was still. I've seen the others. The others are weirder for sure.
No, I mean, and even with these legal issues and stuff, it's like he just screwed up. Yeah, the anonymous massage therapist who accused him died, and
imagine waking up with Kevin Spacey standing over your bed. That'd be terrifying. Killing these people.
Yeah.
He's still in character for House of Cards.
Strange dude. Let's see. I mean, and it's weird because I always really liked him as an actor. He was really one of my favorite actors.
Me too. And then one day I saw this weird website a bunch of people put up. I don't know if it was on a website, but all these people had all these weird stories about Kevin Spacey offering them money for like gay dudes and stuff like that. It was like this whole like collective of people that came together. The whole thing was just filled with these weird, crazy stories about him, trying to pay people for sex or whatever. It was really weird, but I don't even know if that site's still up, but I remember it. And then I was like, uh-oh, creepy Kevin Spacey. But and then all the other stuff happened. But I always liked his movies too. But I don't want to be alone in a room with him or Manson. So there you have it.
Yeah, well, I doubt that we will be.
Yeah, exactly. Never will be for sure. Hopefully not.
We will be.
Hopefully I don't wake up to Kevin Spacey standing over my bed.
Well, and see what's so weird is that, you know, like I liked him enough that I actually own like a bunch of movies that he's in because I liked him and the movies too, you know, so much. And so
Can you watch them now?
I haven't been able to.
Yeah.
You know, and one of them's K-Pax, which is like one of my favorite movies of all time. And
That's a good one, K-Pax.
you know, and
he's an alien.
Yeah, well, he's possessed by an alien.
Yeah.
You know, it comes down into his body. And the other one that I have of his that I really like is The Midnight Garden of Good and Evil. And you know, he plays a scumball in that movie, and probably the kind of scumball that he really is. You know, but it's the movie is, you know, I mean, it's not like the book. The book is better. But the movie has got some really great characters in it, and it kind of captures a slice of you know, it's filmed on location in Savannah, Georgia.
Is John Cusack in that?
Yeah, and it's you know, so it's, you know, it's filmed on location, and Savannah is a beautiful city. I mean, I've been there a couple times, and it's just a fabulous, you know, it was directed by Clint Eastwood.
Oh,
So
I need to see that again. It's been
just
a
a
while.
fabulous movie. Well, really one of my favorites. And then, of course, there's American Beauty, which is a great film, too. So it's, in fact, American Beauty has this scene in it, which when I saw it, it blew my mind because I don't think that the person who wrote the screenplay or who wrote the original story, I don't know, maybe they do know about this, but there's a scene in American Beauty that seems to be taken directly from one of the spiritual experiences that Jane Roberts, who, you know, channeled Seth, considered one of the kind of the pivotal spiritual moment that caused her to begin eventually doing the Seth material. You know, she had this experience it was like in the early 60s where she was, you know, she was struggling as a writer and she was trying to figure out what to do. And she kind of went into this trance. And when she came out of this trance, she had written like, I don't know, like 7 or 10 pages of automatic writing. And the experience that she had is almost identical to the experience of the photographer. You know, there's that young photographer in the film who takes a short film of a paper bag or a plastic bag just sort of bouncing around in the wind, and he talks about it, and it's almost identical, not quite word for word what she says was her experience, but it's really close. And I remember when I watched it, I was like, did they read Jane Roberts? That's really weird, you know, because if they didn't, this is an identical experience. It's just really strange.
And that was in the American Beauty?
It's an American Beauty, yeah.
Is that the paper floating thing or something else?
Yeah, where the paper is floating, you know,
yeah.
and he and the kid who's filmed it, he talks about sort of the kind of experience that he had when he was watching it. You know, kind of how it affected him, you know, and it's so close to what she described as her experience. It's so weird. You know, I have no idea whether they're referencing that or not. It's just really weird. It blew my mind when I saw the movie.
Did you ever see the show by Alan Ball that was on HBO, 6 Feet Under?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was really good. And then he went on to do True Blood, and he quit that, and it kind of went to hell. It was good at first, but that 6 Feet Under was really good about the family and the funeral home and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
yeah,
That was a
yeah,
good one.
yeah. I remember that. It was I think it was on what, HBO or something, or Showtime,
Yeah, it was on HBO.
because at the time, I mean, I didn't have cable at the time when it was on, but I caught a few episodes from a friend of mine who did have it on cable. I didn't watch the whole thing, but
Yeah, it's a
I was
good one.
familiar with the show.
Really good. I was like, I need to watch it again one year for sure. I've seen it once, but well, next week's guest, you're here for this next week, right? I'm pretty
I
sure.
think so, yeah.
Yeah, Chris Charbonneau. Me and name Charbonnet. I'll spell it Chronneneau,
Yeah.
and he's a paramedic. He's bald. Wow. He's a paramedic. He's going through all this COVID crap with stuff with being a paramedic. So we'll talk about that. Also about 80s punk scene, 40 conspiracy and high strangeness. So we'll be talking to him next Friday. Get some punk rock going on for sure, and talk about weird paramedic stuff. So and weird other stuff for sure. So looking forward to that. And after that, uh, who is that? Don Webb and uh, Jeffrey Seelman, The Exorcist. So if you want to sit in for any of those, let me know. Don, I've been trying to get these review copies from Don Webb. The book ain't even out yet, so they haven't even sent me any. Their review copies, they don't send me anything anymore. But the book doesn't come out till May, so I'm trying to get a PDF of that. He has like this weird vampire magic book coming out. Don does. It says something about vampires or shamans, and I mean, I've never heard that put together, but I'm interested, so I'm going to get it. We'll talk about the book, but I may not have a review copy yet of it, so I'll have to.
Well,
Listen.
he'll just have to give us he'll just have to give us the skin.
Yeah. Well, is that what you want to sit in on? Because that's Jay, I believe, and then the next. It's the last 2 Fridays of February.
Yeah, yeah. Just remind me.
Okay, yeah, Don Webb. I have to be careful with Don too, because he will say the F word. No matter what you say, he'll say it. So I have to prepare JoJo for Voodoo Don. And you don't want to say nothing to him. He'll get Donald voodoo you. I'm kidding. He's been on so many times I've lost count. But he told me. Oh, go ahead.
But no, go ahead. This is different. Go ahead.
He actually told me that Michael Aquino died last fall, and I know there's been all kinds of weird rumors about that dude, and I know that he died and stuff. But I actually asked him, and he told me, yeah, he died. He really died. He really passed last fall. That's strange.
This is interesting because it's not on Wikipedia.
Huh. That's strange.
Interesting.
Maybe they're hiding it. I don't know. Maybe he's alive and in a secret layer somewhere, and they're just like, I don't know what's going on. That Michael Aquino stuff is a weird story, though, isn't it? I mean,
it's really weird.
Yeah. I don't want to laugh at it. I don't want the temple of Set to come get me. But anyway, it's a strange story. Definitely interesting. But we'll be talking about the vampire book, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that stuff maybe some. I don't know. I need to prepare Jay so he doesn't start dropping Dungeons and Dragons and Star Trek.
Oh my God! Yeah, no, this is real.
This is real. This is real, bros.
Indeed.
And then the last Friday is Jeffrey Seelman. That's my real life exorcist friend. He's a real life exorcist, so he'll be on. Jeffrey Seelman likes to collect these weird little robots that do stuff. They're like toys, but they're weirder than what a normal toy should be. He had some weird UFO drone he's flying around his house that was weird, but he showed me it on Amazon. It's like a toy, but it was just weirder than like a kid's toy. It's like, are you a Batman villain? Where are you getting this stuff? He had some, and then he did a presentation. He had this other weird little robot doing stuff. So I got to ask him about what's up with this, with the weird, robots and drones and stuff. But I actually looked at the UFO on Amazon. I had to get one year, but it was like some weird little thing. I think what it was, it's like it's activated so it doesn't hit walls somehow, whatever that's called, where it can not hit anything and kind of bounce around without breaking stuff. It's kind of weird, but it was on Amazon. So we'll check that out. I know there's a guy in March, I think the first show of March, I forget his name right now, but he has a shadow being documentary on Amazon. We'll be talking about that. And then I forget the rest of the people because it's on the other computer. But, Resident Alien. Oh, go ahead.
So do you get any more information? I know you used to get all kinds of information from the Ozark UFO people. Do you remember them?
Yes, I do. And they are always adding books to my account, like downloads and stuff. But a lot of it's, I like UFO stuff. A lot of it's like real kind of spiritually stuff, like a little too much maybe. So I haven't really, I know they do the UFO conference, and I usually plug it, but I haven't. They kept canceling it. I need to check again on that.
Yeah, well, probably because of COVID, I'd imagine. You mean this year? Or were they canceling it before then?
They canceled it already last year. I'm sure at some point they're probably doing it again this year. I'll have to check with them. But why? What's up?
No, I was just curious. They just crossed my mind, and so I didn't know whether you had heard from them or not, because you hadn't said anything about them for a long time.
Well, I better start plugging them. I just found it. Ozark Mountain UFO Conference. It'll be virtual, April 10th to the 11th, 2021. So I need to write them and double check about that. But guest Whitley Strieber. Oh, I love him. Princess Jeannie. What? I don't know who this lady is. Princess Jeannie. Grant Cameron. Don Lynn. I know Donna Lynn. Garnet Schulhauser, I've had him on. He channels Jesus. Mary Rodwell, I've heard of her. I meant to grab her book about aliens. I never got around to it. Michael Horn, I've heard of him, and I've heard some shady things about him, but I don't really know him. Terry Lovelace, I've heard of that name somewhere. So George Norrie. Yeah, I got to write him and check on
George Norrie.
George Norrie. Someone told me.
I know that right. Actually, he interviews people. All right. He lets him talk.
They make you write your questions. Come on. Are you that a window licker? You got to make your guests write out questions to ask.
They make you write your questions, and that's what they ask you?
Yeah. I don't know if they do that for everybody, but they definitely do it for some people, for sure. Tim Banal works there, so that's probably why I've never been on ever, which I don't really care. It's too late for me. I'm a grandpa. I'll stay up that late, but Tim works there, so if he saw me, he'd like, veto, stamp, because of the Jeremy Vanny feud of whenever that was. But I know Banal works on stuff there. That's what I've heard. He's like does their little website stuff and all that stuff. But I was friends with Banal once, but that whole Vanny thing happened. It got nasty on many levels. So, but I don't really care about being on Coast to Coast. I don't even listen to Coast to Coast. I did with Art Bell a long time ago, but I don't really listen to it at all. I might have listened to it once when David Paulides was on off YouTube or something. But other than that, I don't listen to it all the time or anything. But too late. I mean, when does it start? It starts at like 3 a.m. or something, doesn't it?
Well, it's more like midnight to 2 or something. It's 4 hours, so it's like midnight to 4 in the morning or something like that.
Like, bro, you want me to do a show right then? Wow.
I always thought it was probably for truck drivers. There's this guy. This is hilarious. This is true, because I will occasionally listen to his stuff. There is this guy who has a YouTube channel, and what he does on the YouTube channel is he drives he has like software where he drives virtual trucks, like, like semis, like he was a truck driver. He drives, and these virtual, the software has all kinds of stuff in it, so that, like, it's like you pull off, it's like a simulator. You pull off the road, to a rest stop. You can change the weather so that you're driving through a snowstorm. It's all this stuff, and he'll pick some settings, and for 4 hours, what he does is he drives a simulated truck, a semi, hauling a load, and he's listening. The soundtrack, he's listening to old Art Bell, and he will play 4 hours for an Art Bell episode while he's listening to this. That's what you listen to. Basically, it's like you're listening to Art Bell, and you're watching a semi simulation, pretending that you're driving late at night.
Where's this at?
I can't. I have to look it up and send you because I have listened to him, because not that I watch the simulations, because I don't, but what he does is he's particularly fond of the old Art Bell archived stuff.
This is the best.
And so it's like, sometimes when I'm at work and I'm just like, I need to listen to something, but I don't want to watch anything, and it's on YouTube. I'll just put it on YouTube on my headphones and do work on the computer. I'll be listening to these old Art Bell episodes. But I'll send you that. But it's hilarious, because he'll start it out going, "Hello, guys. Glad to see." He's got like this following of thousands of people. He'll be like, "Hello, guys. I'm driving a such and such and such and such tonight, and there's a snowstorm, and whatever." He explains everything that's going to be going on, and then he'll take breaks at different points. Like when Art Bell would do a break, for like a commercial or something, and he'd be like, "Well, we're gonna pull into this rest stop." It's like, so now, because of that, I associate Coast to Coast with truck drivers driving late at night, because actually a lot of the people, not everyone, but a lot of the people who do call in sometimes, when they have call-in stuff, are truck drivers. They get a lot of guys that are calling in, and they're on the road, and I'm driving through Tacoma, Washington, and they will, So
I used to listen to Art Bell on the radio here. I think it was Florida. They played it. I don't think they do anymore, but it was a long time ago. They used to just play it at some radio station here, and you could pick it up on regular radio. I don't know if they do it anymore. I don't think so, but I used to listen to it back then, back in the day, a long ass time ago, for sure. But I know he croaked, of course. I knew that, but he was also a trumplegooch, I think, so that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's
it's like whatever, I mean.
What can you do? What can you do? What can you do? The trumplegooch. What is up with some of these crazy right-wing personalities? I know there's crazy ones on the left. I'm not going to say they're not, but they don't seem as crazy as the right. There's like these weird ones that I see before it's news. Like, I'll name some of them. Simon Parks, and they all have connections now with that Q crap. Simon Parks is also like some British political dude, and he claims that pretty much he had alien crap happen to him, and now he's up there, and he's like one of these Q personalities, and he releases updates, and it goes crazy. There's another one, Scott McKay, the Patriot Street Fighter. There's a bunch of different ones, but they're all like spinning this weird alternate reality. Like some of that Scott McKay saying something's going to happen March 4th, and one of them was saying something that like China and Russia and Trump are going to come back to America and take the throne back, and it's going to happen March 4th. Like there's some crazy, like the right wing stuff. And then that weird lady, Marjorie, whatever, they just, got in trouble because she says stupid stuff about Jewish space lasers or whatever she said. I don't know exactly. But there's just so crazy ass ones. Like they've been mind melted from China or Russia, and they're just like saying whatever. I made the dogs bark. Saying whatever they think or whatever. There's some crazy ones, and they've risen up from this Trump situation for sure.
Okay, I know what it is. There's actually a number of them. There is a simulator. It's an online simulator called American Truck Simulator, and there are several guys who are doing this. And what they do is they just simply stream. They stream, like, okay, here's one right here. I don't think it's the one I've listened to, but it's another guy. He's doing the American Truck Simulator while listening to Weird Darkness, a podcast about the Dyatlov Pass incident. So like a lot of these guys that are doing these truck simulators and putting them on YouTube are listening to paranormal podcasts, including Art Bell.
Okay, cool.
It's this whole thing that I just ran across.
It's on YouTube though.
It's on YouTube. Yeah, it's on YouTube.
There's also, I don't know if there's any connection, a weird, very popular game on Steam called American Truck Simulator, and I'm not sure. Experience legendary American trucks deliver various cargoes across sunny California. I'm not sure what it is. I don't think it may not have a connection to what you're talking about, but are they in real trucks when they're doing it, or is it
okay, you can't see this, but no, they're in simulators. In other words, there's a program, it's software, or various types of software, and they put it on their computer, and it's a simulator, like they are driving a truck. Like I'm watching one right now. It's by a guy who's got a Facebook, a YouTube channel. His name is Shane Works, and I'm looking at his page right now, and it doesn't look like all of his videos are like this. But what he's doing is he's just got the truck simulator running like he's driving it. So basically what he does is he sits there and he plays the simulator and tapes it or records it while he's listening to Art Bell.
Okay, I think it may actually be this thing I'm looking at on Steam. There's a site called American Truck Simulator too.
Yeah, but it appears like I can't find the specific dude that I've listened to, but it looks to me like there's a whole bunch of people who do this.
Yeah, I think it's on Steam. It has like 60,000 positive reviews, so it seems like something pretty interesting. I'll check it out. It's like $5 right now.
Yeah, it's just, I remember running across it and I just thought to myself, this is the strangest thing, but at least I can listen to old Art Bell, and this is like old Art Bell, from years and years ago. Excuse me.
Definitely cool for sure. But her name's Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they stripped her of her committee assignments. And I don't know, she's just saying like weird stuff, like really bizarre, like weird stuff. But, I don't know exactly what she's saying, but weird stuff for sure. And I guess it's so weird they're punishing her. The Republicans are punishing her. Yeah. Something about Jewish space lasers, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
What the hell? Maybe she's getting zapped from China by a satellite. I don't know. It's weird though. I mean, some of the stuff they say, like some of these personalities, it's very weird. It's like they just make up stuff and say it. Are they government spooks? I mean, what? It's just, are they just stupid or just crazy? I don't know, but What was the Jewish satellite thing? Do you know what that is? Or lasers? What do you have
Oh,
anything?
it's I don't know about when there's this is something that's popped up a few times, not only with the fires in California. I first started hearing about it not this year, but a couple years ago when the fires were really, really bad too in California. But I also heard some of this stuff with the really bad fires in Australia. And it's based on the fact that if you look at these fires, the spread of when a forest fire is what is at a stage that is called a firestorm, which is a very particular stage of a forest fire. If you look at it sort of, if you're able to look at it from above or from a distance, what you'll see is that the fire appears to it'll appear to sort of spontaneously ignite in separate spots really quickly, and it will look like, at least to some people, it will look like fire is coming down out of the sky and hitting the ground, or hitting flammable things. And unfortunately, that displays a complete misunderstanding of what a firestorm is. What happens in a firestorm is that the ambient temperature of the atmosphere has grown so hot that that first of all, it sort of changes the climate, or the weather very locally. And what happens is that superheated air literally sort of floats in the air until it finds something that can ignite it. And what can ignite it can be anything. It can be like just dust in the air at a certain point. And that's part of the reason why, if you remember, I guess it was a couple years ago, one of these firestorms hit a fairly exclusive neighborhood. I can't remember now whether it was outside of LA or outside of San Francisco, but there were instances where like one person's house was completely destroyed, but like the house next to it wasn't. And that was taken as proof that there was something that was aiming and hitting particular people's houses. That's exactly what firestorms do. And this phenomenon was first described as a result of a terrible firestorm that occurred in 1894 in Minnesota. That basically it trapped more than 2,000 people, including, this is what it did. It created its own weather, including hurricane-strength winds, bubbles of plasma-like glowing gas, and 200-foot-tall flames that fell from the sky. And in fact, it was the observation of all this stuff that happened in this forest fire in 1894 that gave birth to modern forest fire fighting techniques. But there's actually been a book that's written about it called The Great Hinckley Firestorm of 1894 Under a Flaming Sky. And that's what happens in these really big firestorms in Australia or in California or in Colorado, or this year happened in Oregon and Washington as well. But the rumor that they were, I don't know about I think the Jewish part of it is just weird anti-Semitism. I didn't hear that from the rumor mill in Australia. They were blaming it on, I don't know, they were blaming it on some kind of weapon, but they weren't blaming the Jews for it. So
I saw, though, we didn't like the fire comment from the agency.
Well, right, exactly. I mean, it's like what people are seeing. Firestorms are terrifying because there's nothing to stop them,
Yeah.
and they will absolutely kill you and absolutely destroy things. And unfortunately, in California, the types of firestorms that they're having because of the nature of the drought is so bad that in the past the fires would sweep through really quickly, and animals could like go underground or something to escape. But these fires are so intense and so bad that they actually bake the ground for several feet underneath. So like everything is dead. It's like everything is dead, and it takes a really long time for it to come back. So but people are just crazy. They don't understand science. They don't understand how elements work. And,
They call it dew lasers.
yeah, so they just imagine all kinds of weird crap. I have just so you know, because I know that you ask me these questions sometimes, and I seem to know the answers a lot. I have this entire bookshelf that is nothing but a collection of books of natural disasters and the physics behind natural disasters, like pandemics of various kinds, earthquakes, freak blizzards, freak firestorms, volcanoes, droughts. You got it. Everything. Tornadoes, everything. So
You're weird.
it's what I read instead of serial killer stuff.
Probably better off for sure. I don't even read serial killer stuff anymore. I quit reading it. It's too much.
Yeah, I mean the only I mean I have read a few things that I read earlier in my life, but after I read the book about Bob Berdella, which was the serial killer that I knew, I just I was done with that. I don't
That's
need to read
enough.
any of that anymore.
Christopher Plummer passed away. That's a big actor. He's been in a lot of stuff. Another one, Hal Holbrook. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Two big screen giants that been around for a long time. I know that Christopher Plummer replaced Kevin Spacey in some Ridley Scott movie that I forget what it was called. But the Hal Holbrook, I just pulled him up. I know he's got some a lot of weird stuff. Let's see. Hal Holbrook, what was he at? Best Rituals? I don't know if I've ever seen that. Underseen drama, Gem Rituals. But he's been in a bunch of stuff. Or The Creeper. I've never seen that one. But he's in a bunch of weird stuff. A lot of horror movies and stuff. And things like that. Let's see what else. I know he's been in some big stuff, but this particular article is just about the weird movie he was in that's kind of unseen, Rituals, a gem, like an underseen gem, but I know he was in weirder stuff. Hal Holbrook. Might have been like in, I don't know, Halloween or some weird stuff. I know John Carpenter's saying he's finally going to do some movies. They better get him doing them before he croaks, because he's looking pretty old, John Carpenter. I hope so. I hope he does some more movies before he departs. Oh, he was Mark Twain. That may have been I don't know what movie that was, but he was most accurate portrayal of Mark Twain. That was in one movie he was in. Here's his biography.
Oh, did you hear that Fox has canceled Lou Dobbs all of his shows?
No, I didn't.
He's like the ultimate Trumpelgooch. And they canceled all of his shows.
Good.
He's being sued by Dominion and a couple of other election machine companies.
Lou Dobbs. He's always been on Fox. He hasn't been on anything else, because it sounds familiar.
He used to be on CNN, I think, years
Okay, yeah.
until he took a sharp turn to the right.
Oh, goodness.
They booted him.
Mark Twain, his one-man show, Mark Twain Tonight. I don't know. I give up. I was trying to find all the movies he's in, but I just am not having a good go of it. So, but we got about 3 minutes. So next week is Chris Charbonneau. Charbonnet. I think I said it right. It's French, I think. Charbonnet. 80s punk rock scene. UFOs and stuff like that. And then, of course, we got the great Don Webb, some vampire magic, and then the great Jeffrey Seelman, real life exorcist. So, got some vampires and exorcisms coming up. Shall we roll? Roll in February for sure. Bring out the vampires and bring out the exorcisms. I know he was saying the shaman's like a vampire because vampires energy collect or something like that. I'm sure it goes more into it in the book in more detail, but you can just find that on the description. It's from Simon and Schuster. I thought it was Inner Traditions, but I think they own Inner Traditions now somehow, Simon and Schuster. But that's a pretty big gig right there, Simon and Schuster. I know they put out Stephen King stuff and stuff like that. It's a pretty big company. But I do think they own Inner Traditions somehow because I know when I get stuff in the mail when I have it said Simon and Schuster now from like Inner Traditions and stuff. But all right, everybody, you're listening to United Public Radio. And I'm tired.
Yeah,
So
I just could tell that.
we've had more. I don't want to get into it too much, but more with the grandmother, and she's getting dementia. It's just been doing a little worse, so we've been dealing with that a lot. Like she won't sleep and stuff, and I'm not gonna go into it, but you know how it goes.
That's one of the things that happens with dementia. So their sleep cycles get all screwed up. Yeah, the brain is not working right.
Yeah, it's definitely a trip for sure, no doubt about it. It's definitely odd. But my dog too has it apparently. My dog, he's 16. He's a Beagle Jack Russell mix. He's acting freaky, so it's like a double dose. He's getting older and trying to bite me now when I just try to pick him up and stuff. Like just try to. It's just he's using the restroom and stuff and just a mess. Old, all this old stuff. Oh goodness.
Old people.
Yeah. Need some of those World War II capsules. Put them in your mouth and just, I'm not doing old. The foam comes out. Just a foaming. But, all right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening. And ET, let's talk. Yeah, let me know what goes on there. I will join it and see what goes on and go deeper. I get into these weird Geraldo Rivera paranoias when I interview people because I don't know what's going on. I mean, I want to know what's when they're hanging out and stuff, and then you start getting these weird, paranoid stuff about cults, which I don't think they're doing anything like that, but it's definitely interesting. But they meet sometimes, but most of it's virtual, so I don't think you could virtual do the Kool-Aid, but most are going to meet in person to do the Kool-Aid, so that's a good thing. But anyway, I'll shut up now. All right. Thanks, Wham. Thanks, Joe. And hopefully Joe will intercede now. We're going to end it. Bang a gong. Boom.
See you later. Bye, Joe.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Jeffrey.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. I'm about to hang up, Joe. You probably ain't here. Uh-oh, there it goes. The green icon. All right. Well, I'm hanging up. Good night. Good night. We bid you welcome. Listen to the children of the night. Listen to the beautiful music they make. In call. I'm doing it, Joe. You're not here. He's probably at the casino. He's at Walmart in the KFC line. Alrighty, let's see here. Good night, everybody.
you.